أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين حمدا كثيرا طيبا مباركا فيه اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما صليت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد اللهم بارك على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما باركت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد أما بعد. I pray all the students are well, inshallah ta'ala. Last week, we had an overall introduction to the book itself. The week before last, we had an introduction where we looked at the key words in the Sharia, known as Fardul Ain and Fardul Kifaya, and its connection with Tawheed, and so on and so forth. And of course, all of that in the nutshell of the purpose of our creation. Tamam. And we said that this book that we are studying as a first step is the key stage that every Muslim must go through in order to be truly be confident in his religion, in all of the basic fundamentals that are necessary in terms of knowledge and practice that every Muslim must know, right? This is essentially the purpose of our creation at its most basic level, right? And so everyone must learn these things, and therefore the importance of this book, as was mentioned last week, is huge. The book is written by the Sheikh, the Mufti of the Diyar al-Saudiya, Bayt al-Haramayn al-Sharifayn, Sheikh bin Baz rahimahullah. And this book had a huge significance in his life and ever since he passed away, the Shaykh rahimahullah. And we mentioned some of his virtues, his brief biography in the last lecture, and his khidmat for the deen of Allah Azza wa Jal. May Allah accept him and forgive his shortcomings. May Allah have mercy on the Shaykh. May Allah give him Jannatul Firdaus with all the Anbiya and Shuhada and Salihin. Allahumma ameen. طيب, before we begin the Muqaddimah, we made a brief start with the Muqaddimah. But before we start, can everyone just answer this question for me in a brief sentence? What is the difference between Fard Ain and Fard Kifaya? If it's easier for you, you can first take it as a first question to be what is Fard Ain and what is Fard Kifaya, and then try and tell me the difference. Just as a point of revision before we jump into dealing with the Muqaddimah for today, inshallah. You can type it in the chat. We'll quickly wait for your answers, inshallah, before we jump into the reading. Bismillah. What is Fard Ain, briefly? And what is Fard Kifaya, briefly? And then what is the major difference between, it could be any difference, but mainly any major difference that comes to mind from our previous discussion, inshallah. The brothers can speak if they want to. They can speak in the mic, if it will be easier for them to reply.
I believe for the Ain is like individually they must do, like one must do, and for the Kafa is the community, as a community they must act.
Okay, mashallah. The individuality is the primary concern with Fard Ain, and the community is the primary aspect with Fard Kifaya. Excellent, mashallah. Well done. Anything else on this? Anyone? What do we understand from Fard Ain and Fard Kifaya based on the lectures that we've had, the couple lectures that we've had? Okay, well done. Anything else, inshallah, before we move on? Well done, mashallah. Excellent. طيب. Very good, mashallah. Excellent, excellent. Fard kifaya, things which are fard kifaya, they can become fard ayn if no one steps up for the responsibility. طيب. So we mentioned that fard ayn essentially refers to those things that every individual must do, and what is required by Allah Azza wa Jal in the Sharia is that that action is done by the individuals. So that action, it needs to be seen from individuals. طيب, inshallah, like individuals must come forth with those actions. That is what is matloob in fard ayn, right? And that is what the word ayn means, individual. طيب. And we said fard kifaya, what is required, what is matloob in that aspect is that an action is done, an action is performed, and it is brought forth from amongst the community, regardless of who does it. Of course, the one who does it has a huge reward because they've done kifaya, they've sufficed the whole community from that action because of them taking on the responsibility. And of course, only those who are who are oriented with this communal obligation in their beings, people who are oriented in that manner where they want to step forth and play a part in the community, only those ever take up this mantle of fulfilling the kifaya. So of course we mentioned fard kifaya has a huge importance. Why? Because which is one of all the furud kifaya, the fara'id which are kifaya, they're essentially there to bind the community, right? They are the cornerstones essentially that make the community preserve itself. Tamam? Okay, any one key difference that you think makes fard kifaya different from fard ayn? Any key difference that comes to mind other than what we've mentioned? Especially the students who attended the first class. One key difference, inshallah. Any ideas? I've essentially just hinted at it. Okay. Fard ayn is of two types. Well done. What are the two types of fard ayn? You don't have to remember the Arabic terms. You can just mention the ones in English, the meaning of the terms in English, inshallah. Something which is fard by itself, only one thing must be done, right? And the other fard ayn was where you have an option, like kafara. Yes? MashaAllah, well done. There is something which is muqayyad, and then there is something which is mukhayyir. Fard ayn are two types. One, those actions which must be done by themselves. There's no replacement for it. There's no choice in it, as in for you to choose from which action to do. Okay, that is the first type. Okay, it's muqayyad. It's qayd. Its limitation is that only one thing can be done. When you pray, when it's time for dhuhr, there's only one thing you can do. That is pray dhuhr. طيب. 4 rak'ah if you're muqim, and hadir if you are traveling. Well, then you have the rukhsa, you have the exemption to shorten the prayer. طيب. The other type is mukhayyir, where you have the choice, right? They're open to choice. And we give the example of kafara, for example. You make a vow, you break it. Well, then to make up for the vow, you have to, you can either feed a few people, and so on and so forth, right? You have a few options. One of the options will suffice for the others. You don't have to do all of them. You just choose one, right? Is this present in Fard Kifaya? Is this kind of option, muqayyid and mukhayyir, is this kind of present in Fard Kifaya as well? Do you think? Very well. So you see, actions which are of a communal nature, we haven't talked about this yet, and of course this will be discussed much later in the books of Usul, inshallah. But on a fundamental level, yes, to be able to choose. On a fundamental level, when we are talking about obligations which are of a communal nature, you have a hierarchy of things, right? You have a hierarchy of things to choose from, and to look at. Sorry, and this hierarchy determines which actions are done first. طيب. In the Fard Ain, this is not the case. You have to do one specific thing. طيب, when the sabab of it, when the reason for it, when the shart of it is fulfilled, and all the conditions for it are fulfilled, and the reason for it to be done, it comes onto the scene. Like time for Asr kicks in, well, you have to pray Asr. Ramadan starts, well, you have to start fasting, but you have to do those things individually, right? Everything must be done individually, regardless of its importance. You can't. There's no like a hierarchy of, okay, so do this first, and then this, and then that, for example, right? But Fard Kifaya has this hierarchy where if you live in a Muslim country, for example, or a Muslim land, you have a different set of priorities, and those priorities must be met in that order. But this is not the case with Fard Ain. Okay, inshallah. So this essentially we'll discuss this in much detail later, but just so that this is clear, that in the Fard Kifaya, in the communal obligations, طيب, the action must take place, okay? So because the focus is not on the individual, it's not on you to do a certain thing. If the action, which is more important than say another action, if it's done, then the question of whether you should do this or you should do this exact thing, or you're free to do it, it doesn't come into play. Does that make sense, inshallah? This is the one of the key differences that you must keep in mind, inshallah, that this topic of Fard Ain being either one specific thing or being a choice of a few items, a few actions, it only makes sense, or it's only important when the action which needs to be done, the focus of it is the individual. Allah wants to see it happen from Harith, from Shazib, from Akhi Ghazi, and so on and so forth. Okay, so therefore, at that point, because the focus is that individual, Harith or Shahzib or Akhi Ghazi, for example, and so on and so forth, the focus on Ain is the individual, not the action itself. So therefore, because the person has to commit to an action, he either does one specific thing or he chooses between a few options, right? But when it comes to Fard Ain, that specific action is important. Okay, that specific action is important. So this distinction of muqayyad and mukhayyir, it doesn't come into play, other than the concept of just a hierarchy of priorities, for example. Is this clear for everyone, inshallah, this difference? Because the starting point is the individual, the division of Fard Ain can be done in a certain manner, but because Fard Kifaya, the main concern with it is the action being done. The action is specific that needs to be done, right? There's a specific action that needs to be done. So It's something that is specific to start with. The idea of choosing in between, possibilities is not an option over there. But as I said, hierarchies of priorities can exist. For example, if you live in a far-off land, a non-Muslim land, you might have many needs which are supposed to be met as a Muslim community. In that case, there are actions which are specific, but you must make sure that the priorities for the community are set straight, and then actions are done in the priority. You're still not open to, you're still not open. You still don't have the option to choose whatever you want to do, right? You have to do X, Y, and Z things. They all must be done, but in what priority, in what order? That is ranked according to the Sharia. But Fard Ain, if it's Ramadan, you don't get to choose if you fast or you pray. You have to fast and you have to pray. Inshallah. And if it's zakah, if your zakah is due, well, you fast and you pray and you give zakah. Inshallah. So in any case, this is just an exercise into our foundations with Fard Kifaya and Fard Ain. So make sure that you are clear on this, inshallah. So this book, inshallah, as the Shaykh will explain in just a few seconds, we'll look at it. This book will deal with this level 1 information that every Muslim must know. Okay, this is why this book is very important. Like if you were to, for some reason, right, whatsoever, not be able to continue, for example, with anything in this course, in our program, if you just finish this, inshallah, if you continue teaching this book in your community for the rest of your life, wallahi, you will succeed in the presence of Allah Azza wa Jal on the Day of Judgment. Bi-idhnillahi ta'ala, you will succeed on the Day of Judgment in the presence of Allah, and Allah Azza wa Jal will be proud of you for having repeatedly reminded the Ummah of their most fundamental obligations. This is why this book is so important. The topics that are discussed in it, they are very, very aptly chosen by the Shaykh. They are very beautifully placed. They are very, it's the way the Shaykh has done it, it's through years and years of iterations of improving this little pamphlet. So before he died, the Shaykh got it published in the same republished with a new edition in the same year that he died. So everything that the Shaykh was teaching over the years, adding little perfections to the text, little things that he faced in the community, things that he felt like initially were not present in his mind, but because when he engaged with the people, he realized, okay, you know what, people need to know this as well. So he, over the years, mashallah, he gathered all the important lessons that every Muslim must go through initially, inshallah, at some point in their lives, before they can even start to consider themselves as tulab al-ilm, as students of knowledge. Okay, inshallah, this is the foundation. Tamam. So let's read the text, inshallah. Okay, now take out your pens and your notepads, whatever you have in front of you. If you're reading it from a PDF on your tablets or your computer, make sure that you can somehow take the notes. So we're going to read the Arabic first. Okay, inshallah. So make sure that you add in all your harakat, the tashkil and the Arab, just so that you can follow it along clearly, inshallah, and just get used to the grammatical case endings as well as the tashkil of it, how the words are read. And the more you do this, inshallah, the more you go through this text again and again, the more naturally reading of Arabic will come to you, inshallah. Okay, so let's begin. Bismillah. Muqaddimah or Muqaddama, we explained this last week. Alhamdu, hamdu lillahi rabbil alameen. Okay, alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen. This much is of course clear because this is the first ayah, second ayah of Surah Al-Fatiha. طيب. This is Rabbi, not Rabba, not Rabbu, because the word Allah, which this is describing, Allahu Allah, Rabb, the Rabb of Al-Alameen, all the creation, all the jinn and ins, according to different explanations for the word Al-Alam, Alameen. Lillahi, because the word Allah, He has a kasra, has a kasra here, lillahi. For kasra, of course, it's zair, as we call it in the Farsi or the subcontinent region. It's a kasra. I believe everyone is clear with that. Brother Ghazi, are you familiar with the Arabic terms for zabar, zair and pesh, like fatha, dhamma, kasra, inshallah? Brother Shazib?
Not too much.
Are you familiar with zabar, zair and pesh?
Yes.
طيب, inshallah. I'll just clarify with that clearly, quickly, inshallah. Akhi Shazib, are you clear with these things? Fatha, dhamma and kasra?
Yeah, no.
Tamam, inshallah. Okay, so we said ham, the ha had a line on top, right? Ha, we said ha. This is called a zabar in the Farsi language, or as is known as in the subcontinent. But we're going to be sticking to the Arabic terms from now on, inshallah. Okay, so I'm just going to introduce you the fatha. This is the zabar, as we call it, zabar. Zabar means something which is on top. So fatha, again, is the title we give it in the Arabic language. Okay, so zabar for you is fatha in Arabic. Okay, fatha and fath. There's a difference between fatha, as in fathatun, and fath. This difference will be clarified when we study grammar. Okay, just get that right, inshallah. It's fatha. Okay, طيب, inshallah. And we say ham. There's a little we call it a sukoon. We call this sukoon in the Persian language as well. I believe that is clear. And then we have a dhamma. Okay, this is called a pesh in the Farsi language, or as is commonly known in the subcontinent, pesh. طيب. But in the Arabic, we will learn this as dhamma. Okay, dhammatun or dhamma. Fatha and dhamma. طيب. The third haraka is the line underneath, called zair in the Farsi or the subcontinent, in the subcontinent region. In Arabic, it's called kasrah. Kasratun. Okay, inshallah. There's a difference between fath, dham, and kasr without the ta at the end. Okay, it's not fath, it's fatha. It's not dham, it's dhamma. It's not kasr, it's kasrah. Tamam, inshallah. Khair. These are your three harakat and the fourth symbol for a lack thereof. So sukoon. Sukoon is written as a circle, and sometimes it's written as a sort of a half circle, sort of. طيب, but normally it's written as a circle. طيب, inshallah. So it's called a sukoon. Is that clear, everyone, inshallah? Are we good to move on? Tamam. Okay. Alhamdu lillahi rabbil alameen. Make sure you are taking notes on this. Make sure you write everything. This is easy, so let's move on. Wal aqibatu. Wal aqibatu lil, again, lil mutta shadda ana. Ashadda is a little W that we, apologies, is a little W kind of sign that we put. I'll just try and put it in if I can. طيب. Okay, it's not working very well, but let's see if I can. I don't have my tab on me, so we'll just have to sort of work with this today. طيب. خير. Okay, so this is called a shadda. When you have a shadda, you read the letter twice. طيب. So والعاقبة للمتّ, shadda and a fatha together, mutta. Over here you had a shadda and a kasra, rabbi. Here you have a shadda and a fatha, mutta, lilmuttaqeen. I'm going extremely slow because this is our first session reading the Arabic together for this text. طيب. Is everyone good so far, inshallah? Am I good to move on? Should I carry on? We have to go through the explanation of this as well, please. So, inshallah, just try and hurry up quickly. Let's, if everyone is good with that, let's move on. So, وَصَلَّى اللَّهُ وَصَلَّى. Okay, tamam, inshallah. وَصَلَّى, you join this with the lams. وَصَلَّى اللَّهُ, not her, not he. Sallallahu wasallam ala abdihi wa rasulihi nabiyyina, not nabiyyana, nabiyyuna, nabiyyina wa rasulihi nabiyyina Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa ashabihi ajma'ina. Okay, wa ashabihi ajma'ina. Alamina muttaqina ajma'ina. Do you see the pattern? Alamina muttaqina ajma'ina. This is what we call jam' mudhakkar as-salim, the plural of a masculine noun, okay? But with a ya noon. There is another type of jam' which you'll learn later. Tamam, inshallah. Amma ba'du. فهذه, there is an alif which is read after the ha. It's not written. Okay, it's not هذه, it's هذه. There's a little alif that you read after the ha. فهذه, you can write a little alif, little small alif like this, just to denote this thing which is not written but read. فهذه كلمات موجزة. فهذه كلمات موجزة في بيان بعض ما فتحة ميم فتحة ما يجب فتحة كسر ضمة يجب أن يعرفه, not يعرفه or يعرفه, يعرفه here. Normally this is a verb, okay? Normally it will be يعرف, but because of the an behind it, it is going to have a fatha. All of the reasons behind this will be discussed when we study grammar, inshallah. Just start to absorb these patterns, okay, inshallah. So أن يعرفه العامة عن دين الإسلام. Okay, فهذه كلمات موجزة في بيان بعض ما يجب أن يعرفه العامة عن دين الإسلام. طيب. سمى شدة and a فتحة on a sin. And then the sukun on a ya. سميت ضمة on the ta. سميتها الدروس المهمة. الدروس, not darusu or not dirusu. الدروس. Okay, الدروس. Every single haraka is crucial. Okay, so train yourself to pay attention to these details. الدروس المهمة. Okay, shut down the meme and the fatha. مهمة. الدروس المهمة. الدروس المهمة. Just notice here how we said this would be read as kalimatun with tanween, un sound, double dhamma, and mujazatun, double dhamma. Okay, double pesh, double dhamma. Over here, we did not read it as double dhamma or double anything because of the alif lam. Okay, alif lam. All of this will be discussed later. Just notice the pattern. When you have an alif lam, you don't write double fathas or dhammas or kasras. It's going to be a single haraka at the end always because of the alif lam. The reason for this is a bit philosophical, so it will be discussed later, inshallah. الدروس المهمة لعامة الأمة لعامة الأمة أمة so ضمة and shadda and fatha أمة ضمة and أو ميم شدة and fatha أمتي لعامة الأمة وأسأل الله وأسأل الله. Notice we said here وصلى الله, and here we're saying وأسأل الله ha. Why? Over there it was sallallahu, may Allah send his salutations. Over here is I ask Allah. So the difference between the doer and the object, the subject and the object. Over there it was the subject, the fa'il, sallallahu. Allah is the one who is sending the salah. So we said sallallahu. The dhamma, it denotes a fa'il, a doer. Over here we are saying as'alullah. Why? Because over here you're saying as'alu, I ask. Who do I ask? Allah Azza wa Jal. So the object of my question is Allah. As'alullah. That's why it has a fatha. Anyway, just start noticing these patterns. Wa as'alullah. Ay, again, look at this. You have an an before a verb. Yan fa. It was ya'rifu, and then it became an ya'rifa. Likewise, here it was yanfa'u. Because of the addition of an, you would say an yanfa'a wa as'alullah an yanfa'a biha al-muslimina. Again, notice alamina, muttaqina, ajma'ina, and muslimina. Again, the yanun at the end denotes a plurality of this muslimina, a group of Muslims. طيب وأن يتقبل. Again, يتقبل becomes يتقبل because of the an. طيب. It's very common. You'll see this again and again in the Arabic language. So start noticing it now, inshallah. وأن يتقبلها يتقب قب شدة أنا فتحة نبا يتقبلها مني مي كسرة ن شدة أنا كسرة مني أنا ياي silent so مني إنه ن شدة أنا فتحة إنه جواد جا فتحة واو شدة أنا فتحة جواد كريم. Okay, again it is جواد, a double, an un sound, a double dhamma. Okay, tanween, fatha, dhammatain, as we call it. Why are we saying double dhammas here and not a single dhamma? Because there's no alif lam. If there was an alif lam, al-jawad, if it was al-jawad, we will read it as al-jawadu, not al-jawadun. طيب. كريم, it would be al-karimu if it was an alif lam here. طيب, so jawadun karimun. Okay. Abdul. Okay, now you see one of our teachers, one of the Mujaddideen, the Sheikh, he said to me once, one of my teachers, he said to me that one of the ways you can tell someone's competence in the Arabic language is how confidently and competently they read Arabic names. Okay? Because reading Arabic names requires competence in the case endings, the Arab. Okay. So, inshallah, try and practice the names. When you read, when you come across Arabic names, like long names in the books of Hadith, for example, you must have some collection of Hadith in your possession. Over time, inshallah, when we come to reading those chains as well, you'll notice, inshallah, how your competence in the Arab is tested. Khair, inshallah. So this is the full name of the Shaykh, Abdul Aziz ibn Abdullah ibn Bazin. Okay, some people, and in fact a lot of people, even the Arabs, they make a mistake in reading the names like this. Okay, so Abdul Azizi, and then the Z joins with the Ba, Zib and Nu. Abdul Aziz ibn Abdillahi. Look at this. Abdu, and over here it's Abdi. Abdul Aziz ibn Abdillah ibni. Look, it was ibnu, and over here it's ibni. Abdul Aziz ibn Abdillah ibni Bazin. Rahimahullah. Did everyone catch that? Is everyone clear on the name, inshallah? Let me do it one more time. Abdul Aziz ibn Abdillah ibn Bazin. Rahimahullah ta'ala. Tamam. Okay. Let's jump into a brief explanation of this muqaddimah. It's a very important muqaddimah. It is a few key pointers that you must learn from the works of the mashayikh, the way they write. It shows key elements of their psychology, how they are teaching you, right? The way they write is in itself an education. Okay, and you'll see this in the works of pretty much all the great A'immah. The way they write, that writing in itself, the way they express themselves, the choice of words is in itself a lesson. طيب. So the Shaykh, he starts off this lecture, this muqaddimah, this introduction, with, of course, the praise of Allah Azza wa Jal, who is the Rabbul Alameen. As we said, inshallah, because this is a verse from the Quran, we'll talk about the exact tafsir of this when we read the tafsir of Surah Fatiha, which is going to start in the next chapter, inshallah, right after the muqaddimah, so from next week, inshallah. But just to mention, the Shaykh, he starts off with Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. He mentions the entire verse, Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen, because this is the most complete praise of Allah as has come anywhere in the scriptures. Okay, and Surah Fatiha, a surah like this was never given to any prophet except our Nabiullah Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Okay, so the most complete praise that you can ever, in your humanly capacity, of course we are, subhanAllah, we are qasiri, we are deficient. We are deficient in everything, from our actions and our beliefs and our subhanAllah, intentions. Everything is deficient about us. We're just incomplete. But Allah Azza wa Jal, in His mercy and out of His infinite mercy, subhanAllah, He has told us how we, given all of our deficiencies, can still praise Him with the most beautiful praise. And that is this sentence, Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Okay, and the Shaykh has done iqtida of the Quran. The Shaykh has followed the Quran in this, and the hadith of the Prophet where the alhamd has been replaced with the basmala, and it's said everything that does not start with hamdallah, the hamd of Allah Azza wa Jal, then it is of no barakah, or some other meaning which has been mentioned. طيب. With regards to the basmala, it is فهو أقطع فهو أبتر. It is of no lineage. It will not survive. It will not have a perpetual barakah. طيب. So anything that does not start with the praise of Allah or the name of Allah, then it is bound to be deprived of the barakah. Subhanallah. So the Shaykh in Iqtida of the Book of Allah Azza wa Jal, he starts off with Alhamdulillah. Of course, before he starts with Alhamdulillah, the Shaykh has already said Bismillah before, right? Over here, do you see? Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. And then Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Tamam? So the Shaykh has done complete iqtida of the Quran and the Sunnah. The Prophet when he would send letters to the kings, he would start with Bismillah. طيب. And the hadith, as we mentioned, كل أمر ذي بال لم يبدأ ببسملة فهو أقطع. Every action that is of some importance, of any importance rather, if it's that does not start with the name of Allah, فهو أقطع, then it is cut off or it is deprived of the barakah. So the etiquette we learn from this is to begin our works with the name of Allah and the praise of Allah Azza wa Jal. Tamam? طيب. Then, right after the praise of Allah Azza wa Jal, and before he moves on to the salah and salam on the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam and upon his companions and his family and so on and so forth, the Shaykh makes a little addition. He says, وَالْعَاقِبَةُ لِلْمُتَّقِينَ الحمد لله رب العالمين والعاقبة للمتقين. Why does the Shaykh do this? To catch the attention as quickly as possible of the reader. That this book that he's writing, it is aimed for the muttaqeen. Allah, in many places in the Quran and of course in the Sunnah as well, we learn that the best of garment is the garment of taqwa, for example, right? And elsewhere we learn that the best of endings is the ending of taqwa, for example, right? And so on and so forth. So taqwa, and those who are in possession of this characteristic of taqwa, the muttaqeen, the good aqibah, the praiseworthy aqibah, the ending, the praiseworthy ending, and the praiseworthy final reception and the noble treatment in this life and the next is for those who are the people of at-taqwa. So you, O people of taqwa, this book is for you. After the praise of Allah and the blessing of His name, know that al-aqibah is for the muttaqeen. طيب. Now before we begin the context of this book, sallallahu wa sallam ala abdihi wa rasulihi nabiyyina Muhammadin. May Allah's salutations and peace be upon His slave abdihi wa rasulihi and His messenger nabiyyina, our prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, wa ala alihi wa ashabihi ajma'in. طيب. We briefly touched upon the word muttaqeen. Who are the muttaqeen? Sheikh Abdul Razak al-Badr, he mentions a few sifat of the muttaqeen. Make sure to write these down, inshallah. He says the first sifa of the muttaqun is al-mulazimun li ta'atillah. They are ever adherent to the obedience of Allah Azza wa Jal. They are ever adherent. They always adhere to the obedience of Allah Azza wa Jal. That's the first sifa. Al-mulazimuna li ta'atillah. Okay? Al-mulazimuna li ta'atillah. The second characteristic is al-mujanibuna li ma'asih. Al-mujanibuna li ma'asih. They are always mujanib. They are always turning away from his disobedience. They always turn away. They always stay away from they are ever distant from His disobedience, from sinning against Him. That's the second thing. So they're ever adherent to His obedience, and they're ever distant from His disobedience. Right? So these are the two sifat, the first two, which are essentially the contra opposites of each other. طيب. Then المؤتمرون بأوامره المنتهون عن نواهيه. The next two sifat are that they act according to His commands. So they act accordingly as Allah has commanded, and they are the ones who stop from all of His nawahi, from everything that Allah has forbidden from. They are muntahun an dhalik. They are always those who stay away from that. The other aspect of it would be that they command with the commands of Allah, and they forbid according to His prohibitions. So they act according to His commands, and they command others with it, and they forbid themselves and others from the things which Allah has prohibited. Okay? وَالْعَصْرِ إِنَّ الْإِنسَانَ لَفِي خُسْرٍ إِلَّا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا وَعَمِلُوا الصَّالِحَاتِ وَتَوَاصَوْا بِالْحَقِّ. Okay? وَتَوَاصَوْا بِالصَّبْرِ. Okay, so this التواصل, any tawasaw is to do wasiyah of each other. Do wasiyah, or to advise each other. Okay, to advise each other, to counsel each other with at-taqwa. Okay, at-taqwa. With haqq, with truth. The only truth that there is, and that is the truth of Tawheed, the truth of Allah Azza wa Jal, His deen, His messengers. The only truth that is worth knowing. As we mentioned previously in our previous text as well, the only knowledge that is worth knowing is the knowledge of the Quran and the Sunnah, and knowledge of the Sharia, the knowledge of Allah Azza wa Jal. You can live your entire life and be ignorant of the most important worldly sciences, and you die and you meet Allah Azza wa Jal, and it would be just as useless as it was in this world. None of those things are important. The most important, and perhaps if I can say this, the only important thing in this life is the knowledge of Allah Azza wa Jal. Okay, so they do tawasaw bil haqq. They do wasiyah of each other, they guide each other, they counsel each other, they advise each other with the truth of Allah, with the knowledge of the Sharia. Okay, with His commands and His prohibitions. So they adhere to His guidelines, and they command others. They distance themselves from His disobedience, and they forbid others from His prohibitions. And lastly, one thing and the only thing that will enter you into Jannah, or that will take you into Jannah, nothing else will take you into Jannah. Nothing else. You can do a million good things in this life, right? Of course, we are given the condition of Tawheed, of course. As a Muslim, you can do a million things in this life, a million remarkable things, a million world-changing things. Perhaps you take the human species to Mars. Astaghfirullah. But all of that is useless. Nothing will take you to Jannah except one thing, and this is the fifth characteristic of the Muttaqeen, and that is العاملون لنيل رضاه والفوز بكرامته. On the day when the believers and the rest, when they meet Allah Azza wa Jal, when they stand before Him humbled and broken down in terms of their egos, in terms of their enmities and grudges and all the evils that our hearts are filled with, when everyone stands in front of Allah, they will be humbled, and humbled either by choice or by force. Subhanallah. Either they'll be free to, be as they wish to, because they will be from the chosen ones of Allah, so they'll be happy, or they'll be forcefully humbled from the kuffar and the mushrikeen and the munafiqeen. So, given that, who are the ones who are going to go to Jannah? They are the muttaqun. Who are the muttaqun? The muttaqun are the ones who will achieve the pleasure of Allah and His approval. They will succeed with His karama. Okay? The mu'mineen, they will succeed. The muttaqeen are the ones who will succeed with His pleasure, His specific pleasure for them. His rida, yani khas lahum. Subhanallah. So they work for the muttaqun, they work sincerely to achieve Allah's pleasure, because they know this is, achieving Allah's pleasure is the only thing that will take you to Jannah. Some of the salihun, they would make dua, Wallah, irda anna ya Rab, irda anna ya Rab. Oh Allah, be pleased with us, ya Rab. Subhanallah, we have sinned to our heart's content. There is nothing that we have not done from the sins, and only Allah Azza wa Jal has kept our secrets covered from the world. If only our secrets and our sins were to be made open and public, subhanallah, will we understand the pain of sinning with Allah Azza wa Jal? Okay. So the last characteristic is the characteristic of al-amilun li naili ridha Allah Azza wa Jal. The ones who act sincerely and only for achieving the pleasure of Allah Azza wa Jal. Okay? They only work, they only act, they only live to please Allah Azza wa Jal, because they know that nothing will get them into the Jannah. Okay? Nothing will get them into Jannah except Allah's pleasure. This is why, as I mentioned, some of the salihun, the pious Salaf, they used to say, Allahumma irda anna. Oh Allah, may Allah be pleased with us. Be pleased with us, Ya Rab. And some would say, oh Allah, do not make us die until you are pleased with us. Subhanallah. Right? So the muttaqun are the ones who have these characteristics. They live for the sake of Allah. Everything they do is to make Allah Azza wa Jal happy, is to please Him. When you stand before Him, Allah is proud of you. Your Rabb is proud of you. Subhanallah. Wouldn't that be a day where all of our pains and all of our sorrows, everything that we've suffered in this life, from the loss of our loved ones, from the pains that we feel, that we experience from our families and enemies and anything anything bad, anything painful that has happened to us in our life, that day, all of that will just be gone. It will just be history, and you'll stand before Allah with your face and your body radiating with the shine of the wudu, يعني غر المحجلين بإذن الله تعالى. May Allah Azza wa Jal make us from the muttaqeen. May Allah Azza wa Jal make us from the muttaqeen who live for the aqibah, May Allah Azza wa Jal make us live for the al-aqiba al-hamida. May Allah Azza wa Jal make us from the muttaqeen. May Allah Azza wa Jal be pleased with us, and may Allah Azza wa Jal allow us to act according to the things that He is pleased with. May Allah Azza wa Jal hold us by His hands and by His guidance and take us to Jannah, because we are incapable. Wallahi, if it was left to us, every single one of us would sin to their heart's content. We will sin as openly as we would. Everyone has the most evil of desires hiding inside them. It is only Allah's tawfiq that Allah Azza wa Jal has kept us safe from falling into the hellfire. And may Allah Azza wa Jal make the ending of our lives, a husn al-khatima, khitam al-misk bi-idhnillahi ta'ala. The most beautiful of endings, upon iman, upon tawheed, upon taqwa, inshallah. And may Allah Azza wa Jal purify our seclusion. May Allah Azza wa Jal purify our solitude. May Allah Azza wa Jal, allow us to shed tears when no one is watching. May Allah Azza wa Jal allow us to cry for Allah's forgiveness and His mercy. May Allah Azza wa Jal make us from the, subhanallah, the shuhada and the salihin and the servants, the true servants, the ibad of Allah Azza wa Jal. Allahumma ameen ya Rabb. So this is essentially why the Shaykh, he mentions this small phrase, وَالْعَاقِبَةُ لِلْمُتَّقِينَ, just to show you that this book is for you. This book is for the muttaqeen, inshallah. May Allah make us from the muttaqeen. And then he sends salam and the salah and the Prophet upon his al. Al means family, alihi, his family, wa ashabihi. When the word al is used without the ashab, it refers to all the companions, including his family and others. But when the word ashab is mentioned without the al, it refers to them separately. Okay? وَعَلَى آلِهِ, if the author stopped there, it would mean his progeny in terms of his biological progeny and his spiritual progeny. طيب. If he mentioned وَعَلَى أَصْحَابِهِ and that's it, it would mean from the companions of his family and others. Okay? So this is a qa'idah. Inshallah, we'll learn about this qa'idah later when we study the sharh of Arba'in, the 40 hadith of Imam Nawawi. Ibn Rajab al-Hanbali, rahimahullah, he mentioned this qa'idah, differentiating between iman and ihsan. So Islam, iman and ihsan, when they are mentioned by themselves, the word iman is mentioned by itself, it includes ihsan and Islam. When the word Islam is mentioned on its own, it can include all of them. It includes all of them, iman and ihsan, and Islam and in its fundamental meanings. But when they're mentioned individually and together, then each of them has a separate meaning. طيب. Likewise here, وَعَلَى آلِهِ وَأَصْحَابِهِ أَجْمَعِينَ. Ajma'een is just all of them. It's just a mukarrar. It's a mukarrar. Okay, it's an ism which is repeated and it's used for emphasis. Okay, أجمعين. طيب. أما بعد فهذه كلمات موجزة. For these are words which are mujaza, they are brief. في بيان, in the explanation of بعض, some of ما يجب, what is compulsory, obligatory, أن يعرفه العامة, that is obligatory, that the عامة, the normal general Muslims, أن يعرفه, that they must know, عن دين الإسلام, about the religion of al-Islam. Okay? فهذه كلمات موجزة في بيان بعض ما يجب أن يعرفه العامة. For these are أما بعد, as for what precedes. أما, as for, after having said all of that. أما بعد, so basically it was أما بعد هذا, as for after this. فهذه كلمات موجزة. For these are brief words, statements. في بيان بعض ما يجب أن يعرفه العامة. That the عامة must know about their religion, inshallah ta'ala. سميتها, I have named it. سميتها. You can follow the text inshallah ta'ala on your own devices for the last few minutes inshallah. سميتها, I have named it. الدروس المهمة لعامة الأمة. الدروس المهمة. مهمة يعني غاية الأهمية. The مهمة يعني of utmost importance. الدروس, lessons. So lessons of the utmost importance لعامة الأمة, for the general ummah, for the general masses of the ummah, the normal Muslims. طيب. Subhanallah, look, it's a very befitting topic for a very befitting. It's a befitting title for the befitting content of this book, and this is how the choice of the names of the book. How do you choose a name for the book? And this choice of names is done very differently in the Islamic world than it is done in the Western side of the world. Okay, but this can be discussed later, inshallah, when we read another text after this, inshallah, how the ulama name their names, and you find very, very beautiful names, very extremely beautiful names. When it comes to naming the books, subhanallah. يعني فتح الباري في شرح صحيح البخاري مثلا, subhanallah, and so on and so forth. These are beautiful ways of naming, and even in the names you find a concern for the deen. It's not just academic. The deen of Allah is not just academia, right? The topics that the ulama discuss, that they write about, the way they choose to write about those topics, and the way they title them, it all revolves around the concern for the deen. Okay, this is why the word al-ummah over here has a religious, Islamic connotation. It's not an academic. It's not an academic work, right? It's a work of ilm, which is wahi. It's a work that talks about the knowledge of al-wahi, which is not just pure academia. So the title it's befitting of the grand ambition of this work, which is the most important lessons for the general ummah. And these lectures, of course, are all those important things which the ummah must know from the aqa'id, from the theology of the Muslims, aqidah, from the fiqh, which is fard ayn, okay, and then some of the akhlaq, the etiquettes of the Muslims with each other, which they must do, and then some fard kifaya as well at the end of it, that the Shaykh has pointed towards, inshaAllah, that we'll learn. طيب. And lastly, the Shaykh says, وَأَسْأَلُ اللَّهَ أَن يَنْفَعَ بِهَا الْمُسْلِمِينَ. Now, subhanAllah, look, the Shaykh has talked about the topics which concern i'tiqad, belief, theology, creed, so aqidah. It talks about ibadat. It talks about, subhanAllah, the 5 pillars of Islam. It talks about the akhlaq of the Muslims, that the Muslim must adorn himself with, right? It talks about, avoiding the major sins, tayyib, and shirk akbar, has to stay away from it. So after saying all of this, and knowing that these are the most important topics that a Muslim must know and learn and master, every Muslim, not just a talib al-ilm, he says, وَأَسْأَلُ اللَّهَ أَن يَنْفَعَ بِهَا الْمُسْلِمِينَ. Subhanallah. I ask Allah Azza wa Jal that He benefits with this. أن ينفع, that He benefits, biha, with this risala. He didn't say bihi, he said biha, because this is a small risala. Risala is a word which has a ta, risalatun at the end. Ta, which makes this word a feminine. So the word ha is used instead of a hu or bihi. Okay, the ha is used for the feminine case, and he or who, it's used for is used for the masculine case. So because this is a small risala, the Shaykh says biha. وَأَسْأَلُ اللَّهَ أَن يَنْفَعَ بِهَا الْمُسْلِمِينَ. I ask Allah that He benefits with this risala al-Muslimin, the general Muslimin. And alif lam on the word Muslimin, it refers to all of them. Al-Muslimin generally, and categorically everyone who's a Muslim, Allah benefit them through this work. And subhanallah, وَأَن يَتَقَبَّلَهَا مِنِّي, and that He accepts this risala from me, minni. He didn't say minna, Some people, they you find this, some ulama, they would write وَيَتَقَبَّلَهَا minna, right? They write it as a plural, minna, from us. But that can give a sense of any self, any ta'dhimun nafs. It gives a sense of bigging yourself up. Minna, as in us, as in the us of sovereignty, or respect. But look at the humility of the Shaykh. He says, the humbleness, وَأَن يَتَقَبَّلَهَا مِنِّي, may Allah Azza wa Jal, and that He accepts it from me. Why should He accept it from me? إِنَّهُ جَوَادٌ كَرِيمٌ. For He indeed is, for indeed He is Jawad. Jawad is someone who is kathiru al-ata, who gives a lot, who is excessive in giving. Okay, it's on the scale of fa'al. For those of you who have studied some sarf before, it has a pattern of fa'al, jawad, and the word fa'al refers to asma, or nouns which are abundant with a certain quality. So here the word the quality of giving, okay, is excessive. So Jawad is someone who's kathirul ata, he's who gives abundantly. And Kareem again has the meaning of Jawad in it, but then it is infinitely giving, ever giving. Innahu Jawadun Kareem. So the two names, Jawad and Kareem, they are supportive of each other, they support each other. Okay? They strengthen each other in the meaning of Allah. Allah is kathirul ata. He is abundant and infinite in his giving. His giving, his ata, his endowment, and his blessings do not know any limit of time or quantity. طيب, so Jawad and Kareem, Allah, for He is kathirul ata. He is abundant in His giving, and He's infinitely giving, and His blessings are limitless. So he calls upon Allah Azza wa Jal with those two names, which are the most befitting names for the dua that he's asking. As'alullah an yanfa'a biha al-muslimin wa an yataqabbalaha minni innahu jawadun kareem. He placed the ummah before himself to show his humility. He said minni, not minna, to further humble himself. And then he calls upon Allah with the two most beautiful names when it comes to the ata of Allah, the way Allah bestows upon the creation. Jawad and Kareem, subhanallah. Okay. Allahumma تقبل منا إنك أنت السميع العليم وتب علينا إنك أنت التواب الرحيم وصلى الله على النبي وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. And with this we will end this lecture. If anyone has any questions, we can take them now. If not, we shall call a day here. Any questions, inshallah, before we call it a day? بارك الله فيكم. جزاكم الله خيرا. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك. اللهم تقبل منا إنك أنت السميع العليم وتب علينا إنك أنت التواب الرحيم وصلى الله على النبي وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.